Take two. I'm Dave Lemieux. The reason I say take two, I just recorded about 2 minutes of this video before realizing I didn't have my external microphone plugged in, so now I do. Anyhow, if I seem I've got a big smile on my face, I'm extremely excited about this project. I've been working for the Grateful Dead for a quarter century, more than a quarter century. A few times in those 26 years, I mean, every project is great, but sometimes there's something that transcends the greatness, and this is one of them. So if you're watching this, you probably already know, of course, this is the Grateful Dead's 60th anniversary. They started playing, they became a band in 1965. Here we are in 2025 with the Grateful Dead's 60th anniversary. So this is a project we've been working on for a couple of years, similar to 2013 when we started putting a lot of thought into 2015, the 50th anniversary of the Grateful Dead. Similarly, around 2023, 2022 really, we started thinking ahead to this year. Thinking Dead 60th, we got to make it big. On the archival side, it's what we do. Thankfully there's also Sphere shows, Dead and Companies out there. But on the archival side, we wanted to do something that was commensurate with the importance of 60 years of Grateful Dead. We did the Europe 72, the 73 CD box set back in 2011. And then we kind of outdid that one with an 80 CD box set in 2015 to mark the Dead's 50th. Now, we didn't do something quite as big as 80 CDs, although by any other band, any musical genre, what we have going for the 60th anniversary of this year certainly, I think exceeds what any other band, any other genre, any other record company might do. So what we've got is a little background. So I'll go into a little story about talking with Mark Pincus about this. So Mark Pincus, my very good friend, the president of Rhino Records, a huge Deadhead, the guy who oversees the Grateful Dead at Rhino, as well as being the president of the record company. 2023, we started talking about the big project for this year for the 60th anniversary. And we had a call, just Mark and I. And I said, look, I've got I think it's a great idea. I think I've got an idea for the 60th. And it was, the way I pitched it was 10 venues. It was focused on venues. It was the Grateful Dead on the road. The Grateful Dead is the ultimate touring band. And it was Deadheads, the ultimate fans. We followed them everywhere. We went to see them. And we specifically went to see them in places of power, places that were essential, the important places, the places where you knew they were going to play well, where the places, as Jerry once said about Madison Square Garden, that place is juiced. We wanted to go to those venues. So I pitched an idea of 10 venues, important venues in the Dead's history, and we would choose one complete show from each venue. It wouldn't be chronologically complete the way that the last big box set was, one complete show from 1966 to 95. We wanted it to be not geographically, venue complete. So I'd chosen 10 important venues, and we'll talk about them in a second. You kind of guess what they would be. And Mark was very excited. He goes, that's the project, 30 CDs, 10 shows, 10 venues. But then I said, I've got another idea based on that. He goes, okay, what is it? And I said, it's the same thing, but double. It's 20 venues, one complete show, 3 CDs from each venue, 60 CDs for the Dead's 60th anniversary. And Mark instantly loved it. I could hear him smiling, laughing over the phone. As they say, he greenlit the project in the room. He talked to the rest of the Rhinos over the next couple of days, and within a day or two, Yvette and Brian were calling me saying, hey, we hear about this project, and that's where we are now. So a bit of a rundown. I just learned what a rundown is. A bit of a rundown on the project is that it's, as I say, it's 20 venues that the Grateful Dead played, if not often, that they played well at, that they played important shows at. And I'll give you some examples of the ones they played a lot and the ones they played maybe not so much, but they played essential shows there, and they were places that we didn't want to miss as people on tour. Each venue gets a complete show, with the exception of a couple where we took a couple of shows and compiled it into a 3 CD set. generally based on tape availability. There's one show, for instance, I'll get to in a bit, where the last half hour or 20 minutes of the show was missing. So we couldn't do anything about that, but we included about 45 minutes from another show from the same venue, of course. So what it is, it's 20 venues, 3 CDs per venue, 60 CDs in a beautiful box set. And the venues are, I'm not going to list all 20. You can go on DeadNet and see them, but you can also guess them. If you're a tape trader, a Deadhead who went on tour, you know for the most part what they are. Winterland, the Fillmores, East and West, Hampton Coliseum, Alpine Valley, Deer Creek, Madison Square Garden, the Philadelphia Spectrum, Boston Garden, Boston Music Hall, Capitol Theater in Port Chester, New York, the Kaiser in Oakland, the Frost in Palo Alto, the Greek Theater, the Oakland Coliseum Arena. So you get the idea. I don't know if I mentioned Alpine, Red Rocks. So it's the venues, Hartford Civic Center, Capitol Center, places where the Dead, not necessarily the places that they played the most, but where they played really, really well. The Capitol Center, Hartford Civic Center, those are a little under the radar. Hampton Coliseum, I wouldn't say that's under the radar, but it's an East Coast venue. The Dead played there 79 to 89, and then again a couple of years later, a couple of shows. So we focused on it. Now, initially it was a list of 26 or 28 venues that we did have to get down. That was what the concept was about. So I'm sure there'll be some healthy debate about the venues, but we feel that we kind of covered the places of power, the places the Dead played a lot of great shows at, where the Dead played consistently great shows at. So going back a year and a half, 2 years ago, we made the list. And then from there, we started figuring out which shows would be the show to represent that venue. We wanted it to be as chronologically spread out as we could. So while it's not 1966 to 95, it's pretty close. It's 1969 to 94. We've got a complete show from 94. We've got some 69. We've got some great 1971, some 72, 73, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 83, 85, do we have 85? Yeah, 85, 87. We've got some 91, some 89, some 93, some 94. So we've got a couple years where there are 2 shows. 1971 has 2 shows. That's the Capitol Theater in Port Chester and the Fillmore East in New York City, both from 1971. 1981, the Hartford Civic Center and the Hampton Coliseum, both represented by 1981 concerts at those venues. And 1989, Deer Creek and the Oakland Coliseum Arena, both represented by 1989 shows. The rest, I do believe, only have 1 year. But again, it's chronologically well spread out, although not complete. And that's the nature of doing 20 shows, 20 venues for a band that played for 30 years. But again, the point of this wasn't the chronology of it. It was the venues. This is a box set for you, for tour heads, for Deadheads who traveled. We went on tour. We stayed in the hotels. The box set itself, I mean, I need to take a pause. I'm going to get my little Grammy, Oscar, EGOT, Golden Globe, Tony Award. I'm going to get my little thank you list out. But, you know, obviously Mark Pincus. This project doesn't happen without him. But I do want to say, I'm sure I've said the name many times on these videos, Yvette Ramos. And Yvette has been at Rhino for a decade or more now. And she's always had a very central role in the Grateful Dead projects. She has a really central role in this one as art director, as the person who made sure that we hit all of our deadlines. And believe me, there were a lot of deadlines. And she and Shannon Ward, the two of you, I can't thank you enough. I mean, I love working on this band, with this band, listening to the music, working on the project 7 days a week. But it was, I mean, I gotta say, it was nice to get emails on Sunday afternoons and Friday nights saying we need the deadline by Saturday. That was how this project went. And Yvette and Shannon, you did a great job. And Dorothy, also on the editing side, Jesse Jarno from the Deadcast and other places. He wrote a lot, liner notes. He wrote venue notes. He wrote, there's maps in this with the Grateful Dead's history across America. Incredible. So Jesse, I mean, seriously, massive part of this box set. Brian Dodd, who you're going to be hearing a lot about from the day we announce it onward. He's marketing, so he's the one who's going to get the word out. I just make these little videos and post things on my little social media stuff. But Brian, you did a great job. And I gotta say, Jeffrey Norman, who's been working with the Grateful Dead for well over 30 years, David Glasser, been working with the Grateful Dead for 25 years. These are mastering engineers unlike any other. And this project is unlike any other that we've done. The tapes, cassettes, DATs, reel-to-reels. These guys, from about July of last year, June or July of 2024, through December, early December was when the final deadlines for the audio came in. Dave Glasser and Jeffrey, they each did 10 shows, or Dave might have done 11, Jeffrey 9, but regardless, they split the workload on this. And they were working 7 days a week for 5 or 6 months on this. So Dave and Jeffrey, this project doesn't happen without you as well. It doesn't happen without anybody who was involved in it. It was that big of a project. So Dave and Jeffrey, and I also got to say Plangent Processes, who did all of the transfers of the analog material, the reels and the cassettes. That's Jamie Howarth and John Chester. Thank you. And the deadlines were, I won't say they were unreasonable. You made it happen, so now we know you can do it, so thank you. But they were ambitious deadlines, and you guys knew it, and we knew it, but we wanted to make sure that this came out in time for the Dead's 60th, which is, that May, June of 1965 when the Dead started playing, when Phil joined the band, Magoo's Pizza Parlor. We wanted to make sure that it came out in time for that. So you guys met the deadlines. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you. And I know I'm forgetting other Suzanne, of course, Steve Woolard. I could, again, this is my little thank you thing, and because I don't have it written down, I know I'm forgetting somebody. But, there was no from the top down. Everybody on this project was equally essential. Louisa at UC Santa Cruz at the archive. So thank you. Once Upon a Time on the package design and assembly. It was, again, it's a small team as it always is compared to the size of the project. It was a pretty good team, but everybody was equally essential. So again, I want to thank Mark and Yvette and Shannon and Jeffrey and Dave and everybody else. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but I want Deadheads to acknowledge the importance of how much work went into this by so many people who you don't see making these little videos, these seaside chats. I'm kind of near the sea, I guess, but not seaside. But anyhow, it's one complete show for the most part. Like I say, 16 or 17 of them. In the case of the Fillmore East, for example, it's 2 shows compiled into 3 CDs, so about 4 hours of music from 2 shows. The Fillmore West 1969, June 1969, we've compiled the very best of. These were all related to tape issues where we did a compilation from the Fillmore West from June 5th to the 8th of 1969, selecting the best material. And when we say selecting the best material, there are 2 Dark Stars on here. There's a lot of good music. Now, I mentioned Yvette. Yvette, I also want to say, I told her that I was really having a tough time getting it to 20 venues because it was really 21, and that 21st venue was the Avalon Ballroom. And she said, well, how would you feel about putting a cassette into this box set? I said, I'm a taper. If you went to the Sphere, you saw my tape collection last year. And in 2024, so there's actually a cassette in here that sounds great. It's not a gimmick. It's not a novelty. It's a great sounding cassette, mastered from Owsley's master recordings, and it's about an 80-minute cassette that sounds wonderful. So Yvette, thanks for coming up with that idea and green lighting it and making that happen. But this is a treasure trove of exciting stuff in this box set. And again, I really do feel it is commensurate with the Dead's 60th anniversary. What else could you do but a 60 CD box set? And somebody said 16, that's a lot. I said, no, not 16, 60. There is also a compilation if you don't want to get the big box set, which I hope you do. I'm certainly going to buy one. It's expensive, but it's worth it. You've got literally over 60 hours of music. You've got over 450 songs. You've got 20 important venues. And again, the design inside, the books, Jesse Jarno's work inside, You're going to want to have this, I feel. But for those who don't, that's cool. There is a 3 CD compilation that's also on 6 LPs if you're a vinyl head. What that is it's one track from each of the venues in the box set. And one track is a bit of a misnomer because in a few cases there's actually 2. For instance, the Alpine Valley show that's in the box is from August 23rd, 1980, the Grateful Dead's first ever appearance at Alpine Valley. A terrific show, summer 1980. Brent's now been in the band for a year and a bit. It's a great show. We've got Lazy Lightning Supplication in the compilation. So there's 2 songs there. From Deer Creek, there's a great jam that goes into drums at Deer Creek 89, July 15th, 89. Truckin' into a jam into Smokestack Lightning. We included the whole thing, the whole 15-minute Truckin' Smokestack. From the Greek Theater, July 13th, 1984, Mark Pincus's first show. We included 3 songs. Scarlet Begonias, Touch of Grey, Fire on the Mountain. So the regular Scarlet Fire with a touch of gray in the middle. It's an incredible jam. So that's the compilation if you're so inclined. That's called The Music Never Stopped, available at dead.net, probably available other places as well. The box set is exclusively at dead.net, and it's called Enjoying the Ride. You can't miss it. I'm sure if you go to dead.net, it'll be all over the place there. You can't miss it. It is, I've got in my studio space, that's where I have the Grateful Dead's box sets on display because I use them quite a bit for work. So they're in an area where they're easy to reach on a specific shelf. I should take a picture of that. I'll put it on socials. I'll remember to do that after this. This is one of those box sets up there with Europe 72 and the 30 Trips Around the Sun, the 2 Spring 1990 box sets, the May 77 box with Cornell, and so many. I'm looking. I've got a smaller desk space here. The Warlocks box from 1989. I've got up there the Winterland 1973 and 1977 box sets. This is a big box set. It's sizable and it's classy and it's elegant. It's one of those ones. I keep a couple on display outside of my studio, outside of my office, on the fireplace mantle thing. I keep Roy Henry Vickers box set from the Pacific Northwest, 1973-74. This one I feel is going to be up there on that mantle alongside Roy's box set, or maybe replacing it just to mix up the artwork. And that's what it is. It's artwork. It is a beautiful piece of art, and the music inside is most certainly art. All iterations of the Grateful Dead are represented in this box set. We've got the TC version. We've got the 5-piece version of the band after Mickey had left, before Keith had joined. We've got Keith and Donna with just Billy, Keith and Donna with Mickey and Billy. A couple great shows in 77, 78. We've got Winterland, March 20th, 77. And we've got a terrific show from the Philadelphia Spectrum, May 13th, 1978, that great spring tour of 78. But the May tour, not the April one that came out in a box set last year. The May tour is very different. The Spectrum show, so good. We've got some 1979 from Red Rocks. So I talk about this box set in 2 ways. One is the years that are represented, but really the venues and where they're from. So the Hartford show is March 81. The Kaiser show, of course, the Kaiser's in here, is from November 85. Big Boy Pete, Walking the Dog. It's a great show. Madison Square Garden, 1987. So good. Such a great show with being one of the, just an incredible batch of music. Beautiful Wharf-Rat. Just an incredible first set with a Scarlet Begonias in the first set as the second song. Brother Esau. There's so much good. Frost Amphitheater, August 1983. Board tapes that I'd never even heard before until we started digging in the vault a couple of years ago. So on and on. Anyhow, I'm going to wrap this up, but because it's running a bit long. But I just want you to head over to dead.net and you'll read more about it. But I want to thank you very much for watching this. This has been a video about the Grateful Dead's new box set, Enjoying the Ride. I can't stop smiling. I've been working on this thing for 2 years. I've been, doing, this plus all the Dave's Picks and the other things we've been doing. But this has really been a focus of mine. And when we put the April 78 box set to bed about a year and a bit ago, really, this has been my singular focus for about 14 months and really about 8 months before that. So thanks a lot for watching. Head over to dead.net. I'm Dave Lemieux. This has been a presentation about the Dead's new 60 CD box set, Enjoying the Ride. The compilation Music Never Stopped, also available. I'm going to shut the video off with my little remote control. So thanks a lot for watching. I think you're going to love this one as much as we love putting it together.